little. But Ada wasn't the only woman ever to have had a baby. Lately, when they spoke on the phone, it was like Ada was just waiting till Elise stopped talking so she could tell Elise how many times Sam had woken up the previous night. The last time they'd seen each other, 2 years ago at Ada's wedding, there'd been too much going on for the four of them to spend any quality time together. They barely had a chance to talk with all of the wedding events. Ada had sat them all together, but between the toasts and the dancing, there was hardly any time to really talk. Then there were all those other people from Ada's adult life, new friends Elise didn't know, colleagues of Tyler's, and multiple siblings and cousins. Ada was one of her oldest and dearest friends, but Elise felt like she, Ivy, and Libby were out of place the whole time, interlopers. This weekend would be different. This weekend was just about the four of them, her BFFs, as Piper would have said, followed by little heart emojis. Ivy would fly in from San Francisco in just a few hours, and Elise had promised to pick her up at the airport, even though Ivy insisted she could take an Uber. Why take an Uber when Elise was only a half-hour away and more than happy to get her? That way they could drive to the Cape together. Besides, Elise needed the extra time alone with Ivy. The last few times they'd seen each other, Elise got the sense she was grating on Ivy's nerves. In fact, she was pretty certain Ivy had rolled her eyes at her during Ada's wedding, and not in a chummy BFF way, in an annoyed "you're driving me nuts" way. No, Elise needed some time with Ivy to remind her why they were friends. "Kids, come on, let's get going," Elise called up the stairs, her voice a little shriller this time. She wished she could just stick them on a bus like her mother had done when Elise was a kid, but they each needed to be carted off to different places. Tommy to his private school in Brookline, Piper to the public school just a few blocks away, and Mariana to the school on the other side of town, which she'd school-choiced because it had the best special ed program in the district. She dropped Mariana last, not because her school started later, but because Elise loved having a few extra minutes alone with her youngest and sweetest child. At 6, Mariana was the only one of the three of them who actually talked to her anyway. Tommy had stopped several years ago when he entered middle school. Elise used to be able to count on Piper for a few minutes of conversation until she made the mistake of buying her an iPhone at the beginning of 5th grade. Now Piper spent most of their time together with her earbuds plugged in, her face slack and empty, illuminated by the blue glare of the screen. Piper stared at it so intently it was like she was praying. "Thou shalt not worship false idols," she often thought, watching Piper, her own Catholic upbringing rearing its head. She really should take the children to church more often. "We need to be in the car in 2 minutes," Elise yelled up the stairs. "Do you hear me? 2 minutes." Surely they sensed her frustration this time. If they heard her at all, those foolish earbuds were like an extra body part, something they weren't born with, but sprouted as they neared adolescence, like pubic hair and breasts. Brad was just as bad, constantly checking his email covertly at the dinner table, his phone in his lap like a teenage girl trying to text in class. He was on it more than ever these days, but Elise knew that was partly to avoid having to converse with her. For the past 2 months, their interactions had been curt and chilly, and Elise couldn't help but worry what it was he was doing on his phone all that time. Emailing a lawyer? Looking for a new apartment across town? She hoped he was only playing video games or checking on sporting stats, annoying yet less significant pastimes. Then again, Elise could feel the pull of her iPad like a magnetic current across the room. How many likes did she have now? They were all addicted to the machines, itching for their next fix of data and affirmation. Was there a program to dry out from technology? A cold turkey approach in the name of raising better-adjusted children? She'd Google it later today while she waited for Ivy. Ada. Facebook status update. Super